Alright, in this lesson we're going to be focusing on frames per second, also known as FPS. This is probably one of the most crucial parts of brickfilming because it's basically what brings your animations and videos to life. So let's get straight into this since I've got a presentation up right here. What is FPS? Basically it's pictures per second. So fairly simple to understand. FPS is how many pictures you need to take in order to get 1 second of video. So basically 1 second of video is however many pictures it takes to get 1 second of video. So let's say 15 pictures is 15 FPS, 10 pictures, 10 FPS, and it's just, you can do whatever really. So for example, this is a little diagram I got here. On the right, obviously you can see there's 10 FPS, 15, 30, 45, 60, and each black bar is supposed to represent one picture. So obviously with the 10 FPS, there's only 10 black bars because it's 10 pictures per second. But as you go on, there's more and more and more and more, and then finally at the bottom, there's 60 pictures per second. And as you can see, there's bigger gaps the lower the FPS. And basically what this means is that you're going to have to make bigger movements. But as you get higher, obviously you got to make smaller movements, and that's what makes your videos more smooth. So the more pictures equals smoother movements. Here's another example. This one's a little bit easier to understand. It's a little bit more visually easier to understand. For 12 FPS, as you can see, there's 12 cars and there's a lot more movements. And this is how you get a smoother moving car sequence. And then for 6 cars, and obviously the movements are a lot more spaced out. And 3 FPS, much more spaced out. And lastly, here's the last little example of a running animation. So at 9 FPS, basically, there's a lot more detail when it comes to the bending of the knees and the swing of the arms because there's more pictures to fit into that 1 second as to the 6 FPS, which is a lot more spaced out because you're only fitting 6 pictures per second. So the higher the FPS, the more room you have to get these movements in and to make it a lot more smoother. So basically my motto with FPS is more is less and less is more. The more pictures, the smaller the movements, and the less pictures, the bigger the movements. So it goes both ways. So I guess the real question is, what is the best FPS? If you're just starting out, a great FPS to get the feel of things is around 10 to 12 frames per second. This is what I started out as. This is what other brickfilmers started out at as well. And it's a great way to get a feel of things and get a better understanding of what FPS you'd like to get a better understanding of and how to make these movements work. And then later down the road, obviously, once you start to get a little bit more comfortable with these movements, you can bump up your FPS to 15, which is what I currently use right now, as well as many, many other brickfilmers, because this seems to be the average FPS for brickfilms. So you can really play with it, and if you want to get a really more precise and smooth movement in your videos, you can try out 24 FPS, but remember, the more pictures, the smaller the movement, so obviously it's going to take a little bit longer to complete a film. So it's really up to you. You can really test out whatever you want, but if you're just starting out, like I said, I'd recommend using 10 to 12 FPS. And basically just go at your own pace, see what works for you, and decipher the FPS that you want to shoot at yourself. There's no way to create, or there's no wrong way to create a brick film as long as you're having fun. So just have fun with it, see what works for you, try out new things, be creative, and yeah, that's all I really got to say. So with FPS, you can literally just do whatever you want, and yeah, like I said, see what works for you. So that's all I got for this lesson. I thought I'd put a little presentation together so it's a little bit easier to understand for you guys, because at first I didn't really understand what FPS was either. But once you get this down, brickfilm will become a lot more easier and more fluent for you. So that's all I got for this lesson. And yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next lesson.